So leaders need to be effective communicators. Here at our school, in our leadership program, we go through this book on communication, and we tell the children and our adults that communication is the link between the world and you. And it's a super important thing to know and to understand the different levels of communication. So we want to start with the first level, which is the way we look. Okay? The way we look communicates a lot to the world. And there's going to be a lot of people who say, well, that's not fair. People shouldn't judge people by the way they look. And that might not be fair, but it's reality. And so we need to pay attention to the way we look when we are communicating to others. So what we wear, our clothing, the way we're groomed, as well as, very importantly, body language, eye contact, all of those things that are non-verbal communication cues. In our fast defense training classes for kids and adults in those seminars, we talk a lot about how your body language communicates to someone and how that can make a big difference in protecting yourself. And so we want to be aware of the body language that we have when communicating to other people. The way we dress, the way we look, are all very important aspects of being an effective communicator. And that's one of the things that we teach our students, especially in our leadership program and our legacy program for instructors. Now, the second part, the second level of communication is the way you listen. And this is huge. There are so many people out there who think that communication is all about what you're saying. And it's not. That is one aspect of communication, and what they're missing out on a lot is listening. I heard one time this great phrase that says, most people aren't listening, they're waiting to interrupt. So somebody else is talking, I hear something that makes me think, oh, I want to tell them this, and then from that moment on, they stop listening, and they're just waiting to interrupt to say what they want to say. And so we talk about being active listeners, making sure that we are listening, not just hearing. You can hear everything around you, but you only listen to the things that you want to really pay attention and focus on. And so we want to talk as leaders about making sure that we're active listeners and we respond in a thoughtful way, give thoughtful feedback. And so there are four main ways that we teach our leadership students to respond in a thoughtful way after actively listening. And the first one is reflexive. This is where you're kind of a mirror to what the other person is saying. So they say something to you and you kind of repeat it back to them. Second is supportive, where they say something and you are responding back in an encouraging way, acknowledging it and supporting what they said. Then there's the probing response, where you want to make sure that after they've said something, you ask more. You want to dig in a little bit more and find out more information. It's a great way to respond as a leader, especially. And then the next is advising. And I think this is one we do all the time, but without the listening first. We just want to give our input, give our advice, without kind of showing that we listened first. So I think it's important to maybe add some reflexive listening to that advising part of things. And this is really an important skill that we need to work on ourselves, and that we need to help our families and those around us understand. That we need to be listeners, that we need to be focused on communicating properly, and often the person who is the listener is the one who's really in control of the conversation. And so we need to spend time intentionally helping our families learn the skills of active listening. And one of the best ways to do that is by making sure that we're leading by example. When other people are talking to us, we are working on being a good active listener and responding in one of these thoughtful ways. So we start with the way we look, then the way we listen, and it's interesting to me that we teach it in these two first, because then the third one is the way we talk. most people would think communication, we're going to start with the way you talk. And we're not, because we know that talking is not some of the most important. That's the easy part of communication. Listening, looking, paying attention to body language, those kind of things are a much more important, nuanced way of communicating. So the way we talk, words matter. How we say things matter. The tone of voice matters. And making sure that those are congruent with the way we look and the way we're listening is really important. So developing your speaking skills, we do this with our students, where we have them get up in front of the leadership class, lead a warm-up, work on that confident body language, strong tone of voice, making sure that they are really learning to lead in front of a group of people, communicate in front of a group of people is really important. And then finally, the fourth aspect of communication is leading, and especially leading by example. The way you act is a huge communication tool. You can say lots of things. You can say this is how we should do things. You can say our family focuses on these things. You can say my priorities are this. But the way you act is the real communicator to those around you. Making sure that you are speaking and acting congruently is very important. Okay? This is why people don't trust politicians. They say one thing and they do another thing. We want to make sure that we're teaching ourselves and our families that the way you act is more important, at least as important, if not more important, than the way you talk. And so actions speak louder than the words. Here at ATA Excellence, we talk often about leaders. Leaders take action. They're not ones who sit around and think about it all only, or just talk about doing the action is what makes a big difference. And we want to think about what our actions are communicating to our family, whether that be in the way we're behaving in maybe our fitness, maybe the way we're behaving in our discipline to ourselves or our children. The actions that we take, do they match the priorities that we talk about? So action speaks way louder than the words, and we want to make sure that we take action. Here at the ATA, we often talk about always take action. That's one of the things that we want to do. Make sure that we're leading by example, leading by taking action. So the four levels of communication that leaders need to make sure they're using: the way we look, the way we listen, the way that we talk, and the way that we lead, the actions that we take. Those are really important. One of the great things that I love about martial arts is that I get to teach this kind of information every week in our ATA leadership program and our legacy program. It's a lot of fun, and I just hope to continue to inspire students to strive for excellence.